This is Hamp Lee III from Spiritual Combatants, where we're training soldiers for Christ. I want to thank you for joining me for another Finance Friday message. This one, we're talking about improving your finances. And so we're going through a series about that. And this is step number 3. And so step number 3, we're going to be talking about 5 ways to protect your finances from you. And so what we've been doing is we've been using a book that I wrote called Hi-Fi Finances. And so Hi-Fi Finances is just a book that we're using to cover. These are just kind of summarize the 4 steps that I'm going to talk about on improving your finances. And so if you want to find this book and check it out for yourself and bring it into your own library, go to my website, spiritualcombatants.com. If you click on the books link, you can find an image of the book and you can download a free PDF, or you can purchase a hard copy or ebook as well. So you can follow along with us and to be able to just help you improve your finances and reaching your financial goals, whatever they may be. So just to give you a quick recap before we jump into this one. Now, in the first lesson, in step 1, I talked about finding your point A, because you need to find your point A before you can get to your point B. Oftentimes we say, hey, we have all these different goals, but then because we don't know where our starting point, or really haven't decided or really focused on where we're starting from, we don't have a path on how to get there. So that's number 1. Number 2, I talked about being content. And I also have another video that talks on the one word that you need to improve your finances, which is no. So being content and saying no, they go together like twins. And so that was just learning how to be content in all the things that are coming on around us to buy, and even things that are internal to us, like we want. And so how to control those so that you say, I'm content with what I have. And so when you have that contentment, then it can help you reach your financial goals, because you're spending less. You're saying no to the things you need to say no to in order to say yes to the things that help you reach your financial goals. So now we're just getting a little bit closer. We're still not talking about budgeting and all those other things, because you need these things as far as knowing your point A, being content, and developing a system to protect you from you so that you can budget, invest, and give. And I'm going to get into that into the next lesson. But this lesson is really important because now you begin to focus on a plan that's a personal plan to you. And so what I'm going to talk about in this lesson today, this is what I went over probably over a 20-year period. So yeah, I'm giving you 5 quick things, but and there was no Hi-Fi Finances book, and I wasn't thinking about writing a book, but these are just 5 things that I use to help me improve my financial stance based on who I was, because oftentimes we are our own worst enemy. Sometimes it may be your spouse that's the big spender, but I found out that I was actually hurting my own family. And so I didn't realize that until I started kind of using some of the steps that I'm going to talk about here. But sometimes we do. We sabotage our own success because we want something now as opposed to waiting for something later. And so it's not like we're trying to intentionally sabotage our own success, but because of our wants and desires and all the things we're buying and doing, sometimes we inadvertently do that anyway. And we wonder why we can't meet our goals. And oftentimes it's because we're not content in what we have when we buy, as opposed to just kind of waiting and trying to really balance ourselves so that we can set ourselves up for financial success. So let's jump into it. All right, so number 1, as far as 5 ways to protect yourself financially or protect your finances from you. So the first one is to eliminate carefree spending. And this was a super huge problem for me. And so one of the first ways that I did that was I had to stop pulling out money out of the ATM. And so and I talked about this in previous videos, if I had $20 in my pocket, I must find a way to spend every last dime. And oftentimes I would pull out $20 and then I go buy something that costs $3, and then I got $17 in my pocket. What am I going to do? I'm going to find a way to spend it all on frivolous stuff. And I did this as an adult. I started as a child growing up, and I carried this into adulthood. And so one of the things I had to stop doing was stop pulling out money. So as often as I could, I would not pull, I would just use my debit card and not pull any money out. And so I got a little bit better now to where I can have $10 in my pocket for a month without spending it. Most of the time I even forget that it's there. But early on, I just had to say, no, I just can't continue to just draw money out. Now, that was one thing that really helped me in kind of controlling my spending. The second way was that I had to stop going to the mall. mall, going to stores just to walk around and look. Now, when you're growing up and you're a teenager, back when I was growing up, going to the mall was a big deal. You go to the mall, hang out with friends. You're not really buying anything, but you're just hanging out. But when you get older, or even when you get a little bit of money as a teenager, you're going into different stores to buy stuff. And so I found I was doing the same thing as an adult. I go to the store. First thing I do to the store, go to the electronics section, seeing all this stuff that I want to buy. Then I get the urge and the itch, and then I'm like, oh man, I really want it. And then I wind up buying something that I really didn't need, but it was something that I wanted. And so I really had to control just randomly going to the store. Yeah, there's sometimes you need to go to the store to pick up some milk, but I don't need to walk by the electronics section to be able to pick up the milk. Just go get the milk and then come and then buy it and leave the store. You know you. So if you know that's a problem for you, then you may not go to the store, or I'm just going to do a straight beeline, go get what I need, and I'm coming right back. So that may be something that you may need to do as well. And I talked about this in another video about the holiday spending and some of the weekend spending and the sales that we have going on. I just had to minimize all those things. And that's something that I had to eliminate, just the carefree spending. If I need something, then that may be different. Then I go out and purchase what I need, but I'm not just going to just randomly go to every sale just because they say it's 20% off. I'm not running into some frenzy to go buy everything. And then lastly was the entertainment and eating out. And if you followed me on some of my, and kind of watched over and did some homework, you may have had your time to kind of see how much money you saved in the last couple weeks. Just say, hey, if I saved my money, I did everything half. I think I talked about that homework being, in the month, do half of everything you normally do. So if in a month's time, you go to the movies every week, then maybe just go twice. If you went to the if you ate out every day of the week, then maybe just choose 3 nights, and then kind of compare your spending between 1 month and this month. And so if you do that, you may find that your entertainment and eating out takes up a lot of your money. And so recently, I'm in the process where we're eating a lot of salads. And so I found something online. I'll probably put a link in the video's comments where I can build my own salad with romaine lettuce. And then we had like the baby green mix that you buy at Walmart. So I chop all that up, chopped up some bell peppers, the red, orange, and yellow, chopped up red onions. I chopped up some mushrooms, added, raisins. You can add carrots, cheese, green onions. I love some onions. And then add a protein on there. We just add chicken. So you can go and you have that bag of chicken where they have like the sliced chicken, and you can get the fajita meat plain. And so we spent about like maybe $12 at the most. That $12 can keep us almost throughout the entire week for eating lunch. So whereas I spend like one meal is $10, now I have enough food for 2 people can eat for several days, for 3 or 4 days, eat lunch, and on that one budget. So that was one way that we found to kind of minimize some of our spending for eating out. And then when we're talking about entertainment, it's rare that my wife and I go out to the movies. Most of the time, we've gotten the patience, and it was hard to do initially. It was hard for us to kind of be patient long enough to wait for a movie to come out on video, because then I can pay $5.99 and watch it in the comfort of my own home, have a little nice intimate time with my wife, or I'm spending family time, which is normally what we do on Fridays. That's our Friday ritual, where we'll watch movies or watch TV together. And so I found a new and a unique way to be able to still have fun, entertain, we're enjoying each other's company, but it's not so expensive. Or you can have maybe like a Friday family game night. You can invite some friends over, you're playing Pictionary or Jenga or doing something like that. Maybe you have a potluck instead of buying other food, but finding ways to be able to kind of reduce some of that carefree spending that we have. So that's number 1. All right, so number 2, definitely talked about this before, is reducing the birthday gifts, the anniversary gifts, and all these other holiday gifts that we may have. And this is something that you may talk with your family about. And so my wife and I, we have 1 daughter, and so we reduced our own gifts that we gave to one another. And my daughter, her birthday was real close to Christmas, so she typically every year she wanted like one thing. So I just want this one thing. So we'd say happy birthday or happy Christmas or merry birthday. So we normally would divide divide the two up and we'll provide it, give it to her on her birthday or on Christmas. But then just for us to talk amongst one another about what we're going to do for one another, and then also what we would do for others. So whereas we would have one year where we were buying everybody a card or candy or something, then we slowly over the years began to reduce the amount of gifts that we bought, and maybe we went down to cards. And so even this year, in the last couple years, we may not even send cards. We may just call someone or text, let them know that we're thinking about them, but we try to find a way to reduce our holiday gift giving. And so that does take some communication, because some people have different expectations. And so you want to make sure that you have that expectation management and you have those conversations with your spouse and with your family, or your immediate family and the loved ones that you normally exchange gifts with, and trying to find ways to be able to reduce your spending and protecting you from making sure your finances can go to meeting your goals and your point B. All right, so number 3 was establishing an allowance. This, I did not realize, was an absolute game changer for us. And so I'm spending all this money, and we talk about, hey, Hamp, why don't you just get an allowance? And at first we both were going to get an allowance, but I'm the nickel and dimer in the family. And so my wife doesn't really, if she's the big spender, she really doesn't need an allowance, because she just buys things at, one time and is super large, but she's not going to be nickel and diming and buying stuff all the time like I am. And so I get an allowance, and I tell you, maybe like a month later, there's money everywhere. And I'm thinking, like, how did we get all of this money? I'm like, it's the same pay. And I'm like, there's just extra money. And it's like, she's like, Hamp, it's because you're on an allowance and you're not spending all this money. And it really bothered me, because I didn't realize that I was hurting my family. I didn't want to hurt my family. I wanted us to reach our financial goals, but I didn't realize, buying a game here, a song here, or a movie there, or an application, or some clothes or shoes, those things were hurting our family. It was hurting us from meeting our financial goals. And so when we had all this money laying around now, then I started putting to work, saving it, putting in investments, and doing different things to help us meet and paying down some bills, helping us to meet our financial goals. But you really need, once you guys get to budgeting, then you want to be able to set an amount that your finances can handle. Do what your finances can handle. Some people do a little bit more than their finances can handle, and then they got to reach into a credit card, and they have to reach into other things. So just kind of play around with it. It's not something, this is flexible, and it's flexibility. It doesn't have to be hard and fast rule that it's going to be this amount, period, and it'll never change. You may find that it's not enough. My wife added the gasoline in there too for buying gas for my truck, and I'm thinking, like, well, I don't know how much, that's less money for me, and why can't I have a little bit more? And so we stayed on that for a number of years, and so it's worked out well, and I've gotten to the place where initially it was really hard for me to get to this allowance, because I was used to nickel and diamond. And so I'm spending, and I'm getting to the edge. I'm like, man, it's hard. But now it's a lot easier. I'm not nickel and diamond things all the time. I may buy a song here or there, but that's the money that you have. If you want to spend it and blow it all, you're spending and blow it all. But my wife ain't gonna give me any more money. So that's all there is. And so I had to make sure that I was balancing my money, making sure that, okay, this purchase is going to take me down half if I buy some shoes, or if I go out and buy this, then I really need to consider whether I need that now, or maybe I should save and wait. And this was like this was one of the first few times that I started saving up to buy something, because typically if I wanted it, I would charge it, or I would find some way to get it right now. I was not a person that would really wait for things. If I want it, I need it now, I'm finding a way to get it. But allowance really helped me kind of balance my spending. It helped me be a little bit more of a conscious buyer, or conscious spender about things. Do I really need this? Because typically, most of the time, like, it's money in the account, good to go, and keep on rolling. But, I really encourage you to find an allowance and find an amount that really works for your family and helps you meet all of those other goals that you have as far as paying down bills, investing, and saving and things. So you want to make sure it's balanced, not just say, hey, I'm taking, $500 and that's all to it. And, kids can't eat, everybody's eating, as far as top ramen and macaroni and cheese every night because you're taking up all the money. No, just make sure it's balanced and that everyone else's needs are being met. All right, so number 4 is to save for emergencies. Now, when I first started saving for emergencies, this was maybe 2000, and I had a friend that really encouraged me to get a mutual fund. And the mutual fund was really good. And at the time, I was only putting like $500 a month in there, and my spending was horrible. I was in knee deep in nickel and diamond. I mean, I was really into that. So there was none of this stuff that I'm talking about right now. I'm still just in the beginning stages of nickel and diamond as an adult and being married. I think we were married 4 years at that time, and so we're at 21 years now. So it's a little bit different. But I'm nickel and diamond all the time. But the one thing I liked about the investments and why it really fit for me was in a mutual fund, it took like 3 or 4 days to be able to withdraw any money. So in those 3 or 4 days, I would really think like, man, do I really need this? Or I would like, okay, this is like 3 or 4 days away. I really don't need this gift or whatever I want to buy or what have you. And so it really caused me to really kind of pause. But if it's in the savings account, I'm just transferring it, swipe it, good to go, keep pushing. And so that really helped me because I had to protect me from me. And I even do that to this day. I still have accounts. I have mutual funds and bond funds and things where I put money into that I know that you can't get to it right away. So most of the time you wouldn't even pull the money out because it takes 3 or 4 days. There's nothing really in 3 or 4 days. You probably, we're off that emotional high that I need something right away. So you calm down like, man, I don't really need that stuff. So that really worked out for me until I became calm enough, a little bit more, I don't want to say maybe mature. I don't know if mature is the right way. Maybe that is. Or I became a more patient spender where I could put money into a savings account without having to go in there and spend it. So now I'm at the point where I do have a savings account and I do have the investment still, but that really helped me out. And then also with the investments, the saving for emergencies and things, it really helped me to have an allotment. And so when you have like a $100 allotment, I'm in the military, so they would take out $50 for one paycheck, $50 for another paycheck. And I'm thinking like, man, my account can handle $50 here, $50 there. I can handle, so I would try to automate as much as I can. When it comes down to paying off bills, I'm gonna automate everything. And I do that to this day because I don't want to think about it. I want to automate it and go. And so that really helped me to kind of not think about it. I'm saving right away. I don't have to put any effort into it, and it's in my budget. I budget for those things. So one thing I do want to share is that you want to save what you can. And so sometimes what you can save, if all you can save is $10 a paycheck, save $10. That's $10 more in savings than what you have. So don't be upset if there's not a lot of money there. Because believe me, when I was saving like $50 a month, man, before I knew it, it was like $600, $700 in there. I'm like, man, where all this money come from? And then something would come up that I remember one time I saved $400. Something came up that cost $350. Man, I was mad, I was hot. But then when I thought about it, it's like, wait a minute, I didn't have to use my credit card. I didn't have to use any other means to be able to purchase this item because it was already in my savings account. So I'm good to go, and was able to meet the need without having to go further into debt. So just make sure that you save. Don't be upset about saving low amounts. You gotta start somewhere. Don't worry about, I need to save $1,000 a month and your paycheck is only $1,200. No, if I can save $20, it's $20 more than what I had before. So just make sure you start small, do what your finances can handle. And so that goes into number 5, which is reducing debt. And so you really want to set up a plan to be able to save and pay down your bills at the same time. And so for me, this was always like a balance of 2 extremes. There would be one time where I was paying, again, in the beginning stages, I was paying like the minimal amount. And so I paid a minimal amount on the credit card. And then, the interest rate would be almost the same amount as the credit card payment that I just made. And so I was never going down. And then I would get upset and I would, you know what, I'm going to put $700 down. I put like several $100s down. I put so much in there, I got to go back to the credit card because I didn't have no savings at the time. I was using my credit card as savings and spending. And so I would go back into the credit card to get some of the money I just paid off. And I was like, okay, we got to have some balance here. Be patient. Just put down a couple $100s a month. And so what I would do, now, what I did was very unconventional, and probably a lot of people would not recommend that you do this. But this is what worked for me, and this is how it protected me. This is actually how I got my credit card debt at a manageable level. And so what I would do, I would put like $200 down or so for a couple months. And then once it got down to maybe about $600 or $700, I would call the credit card company and ask them to reduce my credit card limit by $500. And because I still didn't have any savings, I was like, okay, that's at least a $200 buffer. I should be okay. And so the credit card company was like, sir, do you know that this can affect your credit report, your credit rating? Don't care. At the time, I was like, I'm in the military. Plus, I'm not even really looking for anything to buy anyway. I'm trying to reduce my debt. I don't have the patience. I don't have the wherewithal to say no. I just don't have the strength to keep saying no to myself. So I need some help in this. I'm trying to protect me from me, reduce it. And so I did this for several months until I can get the credit limit to about 2 paychecks. So within 2 paychecks, I could pay it off. And so we did that for a number of months until I was able to control my spending. Now, then we took the credit limit back up again. I have it at a comfortable level where I'm like, okay, if it's at this level, we can pay it off in a reasonable amount of time if it ever gets to that point. But my spending habits are a lot better. So that was one way that I worked to pay down my bills. But you can find something that works out for you. Like I said, extremely unorthodox. Probably some financial counselors would tell you not to do it, but you can always talk to a financial counselor, and I probably recommend it. I'm not a financial counselor. I'm just sharing my own personal information. So you can probably talk with somebody that, a professional that can kind of lead you in certain areas. But I would recommend maybe, be responsible, pay all your debts that you have, all the debts that you went out there to make sure that you pay them all, be responsible in that area because you're accountable to pay those debts. But then you may want to focus on one bill at a time, maybe the one that's the largest, the smallest. I focused on some of the smaller ones first because I needed that win. I needed to say you're not just paying forever, but you see I paid one off, good to go. You get that little win, you keep pressing. But you work it out how you can, but then you begin to focus some of your extra money. I'll try to save a little bit if I can, and then I'll try to, if I can, maybe not investments, but I'll save a little bit, but then I'll put a little bit extra on the card. But it's based on what your finances can handle, and then that's why you got to also, as a bonus, you need to reduce some of the things that you go out to buy. Sometimes we get into these contracts with, cable and phones and all these other things, some of these things that you just don't need. So instead of going out to buy other contracts and getting other things, take some time to say, you know what, I'm going to reduce some of my contracts. Maybe I don't need Netflix and Hulu and whatever else, and cable and DirecTV and a phone. I don't need all those things. I can probably shave off $200-300 if I take some of those off, or maybe 1 or 2 of them. I know with my family probably can't handle not having DirecTV or what have you, or maybe I'll compromise and let's talk about something so I can reduce some of those other bills and those other responsibilities that I have out there, so that we can use some of that money to pay down debt or to save and to help us meet our point B. So that was just a little bit of bonus for you. So, and these 5 things are actually, I just shared 6, so 5 plus 1. I hope these things will help you as far as protecting your finances from you, protecting you from you. But whatever you have, develop a personal plan. Some of these may work for you, some of them they may not. Like I said, this was my personal goals. This is how I use my personal game plan to help me to get to a place where I was a more responsible spender, to where I was more accountable for my actions. I showed a little bit more responsibility for what I do. At least, I don't know, mature, financially mature. I don't know what the right word is. I'm sure I'll think about it once the video turns off. But whatever you have for yourself, if it's a little bit extreme and unorthodox, if it works and it's not illegal, immoral, or unethical, then it doesn't hurt anybody, nobody's being hurt by it, and your finances not being hurt, then maybe it's something that may be for you, as some of the things that I may try. But if you have something, then hit us up on the comments, share what you may be using or what your game plan may be, so that others may be edified as well. And if you have any other questions or comments, please hit me up on the email or comments. Make sure that I'll contact you back, and then join us next week when we begin to talk about being big, and that'll be step number 4, and that will probably be our last lesson. I don't think I'm going to have another one after that. So until the next time, may God bless you abundantly. God bless.